A lot. My name is Grant Henley. I'm the Mayor of the City of Busselton. And I'd like to welcome you all here this afternoon. I'd like to also welcome and acknowledge the presence of Libby Madam, MLA, local member for VAS, and also representatives of all of the agencies that have been involved in the incident. I'd like to also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on where we are today, Wodandi and Pibbleman people. Some ground rules for the meeting. We'll have a presentation very shortly from the Incident Controller, Blake Moore, who's our Community Emergency Services Manager and who's been running with this since yesterday evening. On the completion of Blake's presentation, we'll also have a representative of Department of Communities to talk about some of the response work that they have done in response to setting up. Sorry, you're looking a bit surprised. I hope someone's ready. To talk about the emergency evacuation centre that has been set up here last night, and also other operational areas. At the end of the presentations, there will be plenty of time for questions. If people have any questions they would like, we'll try and answer those. Also, we have a number of people who are viewing online, so they will be able to also type in questions, and if those questions haven't been responded to, we'll also try and take those on notice. We have some A3 maps of the incident area which have been distributed around. If you don't have a copy and you would like one, please raise your hand. We'll try and get one out to you. And these are the A0 copies up here, which Blake will very shortly speak to. I would just like, by starting the meeting, to thank all of the people who have been involved and are continuing to be involved, volunteers and career personnel from our emergency services. Once again, we owe them already a huge debt of gratitude, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts for all that they do. We know that that these incidents are extremely emotive and that they can be. We do know that people are very passionate. Please give us some time to present some information. Hopefully we can answer your questions. And if there are questions that you still have, please put your hand up at the end and we'll try and get to them. So thank you all for coming along today, and for those that are viewing online. I'll now hand over to Blake Moore. Thanks, Blake.
Thank you, Mayor Henley. Firstly, before I get into the update, if I can just take a second to thank you all. I understand that over the last 18 hours has been a very, very stressful time for everyone involved in those areas, that live in those areas. But thank you for listening to our warnings, complying with what we're asking you to do, and stay away from those areas. So I'd like to acknowledge all of you for that, and thank you very much for that. So currently, so just a bit of a background on the incident. So at approximately 8 p.m. last night, we had a fire start in the general vicinity just north of Curtis Bay. Unfortunately, that fire was unable to be accessed in the early stages of the fire and has then progressed overnight. And currently, the fire is 220 hectares and is uncontained and uncontrolled. We're expecting a wind change any time now, which is going from the southeast, which is going to put real pressure on the northern side of this fire. That is why we're keeping up those emergency warnings. At this point, we have no reports of any properties lost. We are still working to make the area safe and conduct a full assessment, but at the moment we do not have any reports of any property loss. Eagle Bay town site through here still remains at an emergency warning level, and the Bunker Bay area remains at a watch and act. I'd just like to point out that those two communities are still isolated, but what we're going to lead into shortly is an assisted evacuation from anyone wanting to leave those two areas. So we'll work into that in a minute. To support those two isolated communities, we've established two community safe points. One community safe point at the Eagle Bay Community Hall on Fern Road, and the other on the Pullman Bunker Bay Resort. Access still currently, you can see these red circles here, they're currently showing our road closures. So access in and out of those areas is currently closed. And By doing that, it's cutting off our access to the community, to those communities. All DBCA national parks north of the Yallingup town site have been shut for community safety, and those are published on the DBCA website. We'd urge any tourists to avoid the area of Eagle Bay, Bunker Bay, and take advantage of any of the local destinations that are outside the incident area. Currently, obviously, due to school holidays, we've got nil road closures. However, there is a road closure outside the Our Lady of the Cape school on Cape Naturalist Road. So with these changing weather conditions, it's continually testing our suppression efforts, and crews are doing some really, really hard work, and they have conducted themselves amazingly during the night and had some amazing saves through residential areas. So I really need to take my hat off to some of these crews and thank them for that. So now I just want to work, and we'll have plenty of time for questions, and this is probably more addressed to our streaming audience, but I'd like to go through. This afternoon, we'll be conducting an assisted evacuation of residents and tourists stranded in Bunker Bay and Eagle Bay areas. Those that wish to leave the area can be escorted out in an evacuation convoy. Both of these convoys will leave each area at 4 p.m. So those assisted evacuation areas will leave at 4 p.m. And this is the detail that I need you to listen to going forward, please. At approximately 15:30, so 3:30 p.m, police will be in the location of the community safe points. So repeating again, the community safe point for Eagle Bay will be the Eagle Bay Community Hall on Fern Road, and the Bunker Bay Community Safe Place will be Pullman Beach Resort. And those that are wishing to be assisted with evacuating from that area, to be at those locations at 3:30 p.m. for a convoy departing with the police, local government rangers, and firefighting personnel to safely escort you out of the area at 4 p.m. I'd just like to reinforce this is not a forced evacuation, but rather an opportunity for those that wish to leave, being able to safely leave the area with an escort. Once you have left the area currently, you will not be allowed back in until the area has been made safe. We'd urge anyone that does come out as this part of this evacuation, assisted evacuation, to come past here at the Geograph Leisure Centre to register with the Department of Communities once you've left the area as soon as possible. Efforts from crews on the ground currently are focusing on building and strengthening containment lines. Now, this is obviously some of the people that are familiar with the Meelup Regional Park area. It's quite a beautiful area, and it is testing us in some of the areas with Granite Heath and other challenging areas through there. So it is taking a lot of effort with changing weather conditions to contain this fire, and please, you can just bear with us. I just must stress that safety of our firefighters and residents in the area is our number one priority. So just to reinforce, the emergency warning is still in place for Meelup Regional Park and Eagle Bay, with the watch and act extending out to Bunker Bay. We are looking at downgrading those warning areas as soon as we can. At the moment, it's not safe to do so. We don't have the fire contained or controlled. It's something that we are working on really, as much as we can. So as soon as we can get that made safe and warnings downgraded and people back to their homes, that's our first priority. With that, I'm going to hand back to Mr. Mayor Henley, and we're just going to give a couple other updates, and we can go back to the floor for questions afterwards.
Thanks very much, Blake, for that operational update. And we do know that you and all the crews have been working very hard for a lot of hours, and we do appreciate that. I'll now ask a representative from Department of Communities to talk about some of the activities that have been undertaken in support of displaced community. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Sure. It's Brendan Mooney. I'm the Regional Executive Director for the Department of Communities. We normally run child protection, housing and other social supports, and our wonderful people are here in purple. So under the emergency services arrangements, we run the evacuation centres when they're required. The actual building, of course, as you know.
Bit closer.
Just a bit closer. Oh, sorry. So Department of Communities runs the evacuation centres. As you know, this lovely facility is run by the City of Busselton, but we actually staff the evacuation centre side of things. So it was just mentioned about people getting that escorted evacuation out, that they can come here and register. The other option that's worth people knowing about is the Register Reunite website that's run by Red Cross. And so if you just want to register in order to let people know that you're leaving the area, that's the other option. So in terms of the evacuation centre here, it's obviously somewhere where people can sort of kit for the night and come with any other support that they might need. So those people that are sleeping here the night, you know, we will organise food where required. People will be able to take a shower the next day. We've got some toiletries and those basic sort of requirements. For many people that did register last night or stayed here last night have already decided to move, obviously, to either back to Perth or to stay with friends or wherever is most comfortable for them. So whilst people obviously can be accommodated here, if people have the ability to make other arrangements for themselves, that's also welcomed and maybe better for the people in concern. I think that's probably all I need to say. We had 65 people come through since about 3:30 a.m. yesterday. I think about 30 odd of those may choose to come back tonight, depending on the information that they've heard from this meeting. And of course, we may get some more tonight as well. So purple shirts for welfare. Thanks.
Thank you very much. There are a number of agencies here today, including Fire and Emergency Services, WA Police, and Department of Communities, amongst others. So hopefully we do have all the right people in the room to answer any questions you might have. I will now open the floor up for questions. If there are people who would like to ask a question, we'll bring a microphone over and you can ask your question, and I'll ask the appropriate person to come up and help with a response. Thank you. Are there any questions? Well, that was easy. Do we have any online questions? We do.
With the wind change, is it expected Old Dunsborough may go to watch and act and/or emergency warning?
Sure. Great question. Due to some really, really good mitigation efforts over the last 2 years, Old Dunsborough is fully protected from Cape Naturalist Road to the coast from prescribed burning activities less than 2 years old. So while that wind change is a consideration, due to that mitigation that occurred in spring 2020 and spring 2021, we have a very, very good low fuel buffer in that area, and we are not concerned about impact to Old Dunsborough from the north Meelup Regional Park.
Yes, we have a question.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Is there any expectation for access to Eagle Bay in terms of time, in terms of either hours or days? Is there any way that you could have a view on that?
Yeah, sure. Unfortunately, due to the changing weather conditions and putting pressure on containment lines constantly in varying directions, we don't have any time frame to give you for access to Eagle Bay. It is our top priority to return the community back to normality, and as soon as we can possibly let you in there safely, that is our main priority. As some of you may have noticed, we have had our large air tanker up this afternoon doing drops as contingency lines to further support and protect the Eagle Bay community and lives within that area. But at this time, I don't have a time frame to allow residents back in with the Eagle Bay area.
We have a property on Hemsley Road, which is the Watch and Act area, and I became aware of a problem last night at about 10:30, just before going to bed, when I visited the Emergency WA site. Had I gone to bed a little bit earlier, I would never have known there was a problem. I was going to ask whether there is a way of setting up some sort of register, particularly of the more isolated houses, that could be warned of an incident such as this by text messages. But in fact, I found out when I got here today that that's already in place and was supposed to have happened last night. I just wonder whether you might be able to address that issue and whether there is anything that we can do to facilitate that happening.
Absolutely. There's a few things I'm going to talk about here. So the first one is a very proactive program that we have set up called Bushfire Ready. There's a very, very strong Bushfire Ready community within the Yellingup rural and Dunsborough area that I'd encourage you to contact. There's a couple of people in this room that you might be able to contact, anyone wearing the community liaison unit, you might be able to discuss. They're at the back of the room. So that's a preventative prior to. There is, I can tell you, there is apps out there not supported currently by DFES, but do that notification to yourself of incidents within the area. However, last night with the warnings, we activated a telephone warning system, which is a ringing of landlines and texting of mobile phone areas, but that was limited to the emergency warning area. That was our key focus last night of evacuating those people. They were the people at threat, and we didn't extend that to the Watch and Act area. And it was localised to that emergency warning area. That was why you wouldn't have received that text message on Hemsley last night. Sorry, I didn't quite get that one.
Yeah, right. So you're saying about these notifications that got sent out, but I lived out on Burton Road and I received nothing. I didn't know there was even a fire in the area till I woke up in the middle of the night and smelt the smoke.
Yeah, sure. And that is, so we when we work with their telephone warning systems, it is very reliant on you having mobile phone reception. If you don't have mobile phone reception, then we aren't going to get you that text message for obvious reasons. However, it also does depend on which tower your phone last connected to. So if you had driven from outside of the Dunsborough area into that area and hadn't used your phone, it's potential that your phone hadn't connected to that tower, and that's why you may not have received the message. So there is lots of different factors that go into those messages.
Checking the weather forecast looks reasonably benign apart from the atmospheric stability index overnight. What sort of contingencies are you thinking of to prevent breakout overnight, given that there's a fairly high potential?
Yeah, look, so we're constantly working with the Bureau of Meteorology to receive updated weather forecasts. And I can tell you, having been here from very early in the evening last night, that every weather forecast that we got, it was not consistent with the weather being experienced on the ground. So although we're looking at those weather forecasts for future planning and contingencies and strategies that are going in place, we are basing it on weather being experienced currently. And I can tell you that we are fully resourced at this fire overnight with machinery in place to assist and combat any breakouts that should happen and to further get that containment of this fire and keep everyone safe. We're just coming back for an online question.
We've just got a few questions about the convoy. Where will it lead to, and will residents be expected to drive out?
Yeah, absolutely. So the meeting points will be at those community safer places. So we'll repeat them. So the Pullman Bunker Bay Resort and the Eagle Bay Community Hall. They will depart from that location and proceed to the furthest south vehicle checkpoint, which is Endicott Loop, Cape Naturalist. Once you pass that point, then police will release that convoy because to open roads, and it will be expected that people will drive their own vehicles out of those areas. We are not providing any buses to facilitate the evacuation. This is a assisted self-evacuation from the area.
Blake. There's also a lot of questions about where people can get the most recent updates in terms of apps or websites.
Sure. So Emergency WA is the single source of truth for all of the latest information and updates. So emergencywa.gov.au is the place to go to for all the current alerts. Mayor Henley just raised a point. We're receiving some inquiries about people trying to evacuate by boat. The emergency warning areas do cover out to the coast all the way past Eagle Bay, and we'd encourage people not to go into those emergency warning areas and assist with evacuation. That is why we're trying to assist with a assisted evacuation in a controlled manner.
Excuse me, the people at the Eagle Bay position, are they in possession of these maps at this point?
They're not in possession of the physical maps, but that map of the fire area is available. It's on the Emergency WA website in the warning area.
Is there any indication of how the fire started?
At this point, the point of origin of the fire is still in an active fire area, so we haven't. We are working with WA Police to investigate the cause. However, following that area being made safe, we'll conduct a full investigation.
And will there be a second convoy tomorrow, Blake?
At this point, there is no planned assisted evacuation tomorrow. We only have planned the one, and it is our intention to only do the one. So this afternoon, and that's why we're trying to give you as much notice as possible as soon as we could determine that it is safe as possible from our point of view to assist you to get out. That is our priority today, and that's the assisted evacuation occurring this afternoon.
Thanks, Blake. On the map, the line to the north of the area, is that a retardant line, or can you explain what that line represents, please?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So that line is the line. So this is the line here that Paul is referring to. That line is a contingency that we've been working on this afternoon with aircraft, including the large air tanker. We're working on developing and implementing a retardant line to assist with contingencies and containment should we have a breakout to that side to protect life and property within the Eagle Bay town site.
Yes, ma'am. We'll just get a microphone to you.
Thanks for that. Thanks for all the great work you've done. We really appreciate that. Just a question. Is there any risk you consider of the fire crossing Cape Naturalist Road for all those people who are sitting on the other side of Cape Naturalist Road? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So with the weather conditions we've been experiencing and that swirling wind direction, yes, that is a concern, and that is one of the contingencies we have put in place. And that is why that area, and this is the area here that you're talking to, is that we've got that road closure in place to prevent people going back into that area, and that it's still captured in that emergency warning area. Yes.
Okay, I think that pretty much rounds it up. We don't have any further questions from our online participants. Sorry, we just have one more. Just before I wrap it up, while we're waiting for that question, are there any other agencies who would like to add anything to what's been presented this afternoon, either police or other agencies? We're all good? We'll just get that question then. Thank you.
Just a few people asking how they'll be notified once the roads are reopened.
Sure. So current road closures will be listed on the Emergency WA website in the alerts. As road closures go on or off, we will update our alerts to include closures and reopening of roads. Obviously, there's a process once we have shut roads that we have to go through to reopen, ensure that the community is kept safe. I will stress that from myself as the incident controller, Meelup Regional Park will be shut for some time to make sure this area is made safe. So while we may work to get roads reopened into residential areas, Meelup Regional Park will remain shut for some time.
Okay, well, thank you, Blake, and for others for the provision of information. I hope that you've found it of use to you, and we do know that we do want to, and as we have stressed, it is a priority for us to get you back into your residential and communities as soon as possible and as soon as it is safe to do so. And that information will be published broadly once we're able to do that safely. So I would thank you all for coming along today. Thanks, Blake. Thank you to all our emergency service personnel and personnel from agencies who've been involved in response to this incident. And we certainly hope that the firefighters that are out on the ground enjoy favourable conditions for the next 24 hours or so. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And if there is any further information, there will be, at this stage, planned a further community meeting at the same time tomorrow to provide any further information that is required. Please, if you have any more information, if you require, either through the City of Buston or check out Emergency WA on the website to get the most up-to-date and true factual information. Thank you all, and enjoy a safe and peaceful night. Thank you.